What's up, YouTube? It's Australia Duel Masters here today. We're continuing our podcast series and have a special guest for you all. We have none other than Drew from Diabolical Drew. If you aren't familiar with Drew's YouTube channel, he is widely known for his booster box / pack openings. Drew always manages to get his hands on some incredible Duel Masters product and memorabilia. It's no secret, Drew, that your channel is one of my favorites and was one of the inspirations for me wanting to create a Duel Masters YouTube channel. If you guys haven't already checked out Drew's channel, be sure to do so and give him a subscription. You definitely will not be disappointed. Welcome to the show, Drew. I'm excited to spend some time with you.
Glad to be a part of it today. And again, thank you for the thanks for the shout out on that one. Part of what I love about the YouTube channel is, showing people various diverse products I find online. So I'm glad to be a part of your podcast today.
It's my pleasure, man. You've definitely left a legacy for me and inspired me to do what we're doing here in Australia. And we're just really grateful for your contributions, man.
Again, it's something I've enjoyed over the years, something that's kept me coming back to the game. And I'm glad it's helped so many people to, see the game a different way and to explore some of the products and, see some of the card mechanics of Duel Masters.
Absolutely, man. So I think it's probably fitting that we, kick off with the biggest question, which is, how do you find such great stuff all the time?
It's funny you mentioned that because it's probably the most common comment I get over on the YouTube side.
Yeah, we see all the comments, man, on your videos.
Yeah, so it's I would say a little bit of it is right timing, but I would say the biggest thing is kind of exploration. So when I'm searching, and I've been on the scene for buying and selling since roughly about 2008, I would say. Is Oof. When I've kind of bought, sold. And I mean, I was pretty young at the time, so I wasn't doing a lot on eBay, but I was involved in the card game at that time. So I would say my biggest takeaways for someone who's trying to buy Duel Masters in 2022 is kind of exploring multiple sites and being a part of some of the places where Duel Masters still talked about. You can find stuff on Reddit. You can find stuff Amazon, which is a little more expensive if you come up with it, but I would say your best reliable places, the Facebook Marketplace, Reddit, and the biggest one where I find 99% of my stuff is eBay, which is kind of like the Wild West of buying.
Yeah, man. Thanks for sharing that. I'm sure our viewers will definitely find that interesting and important because, we get comments all the time about, how to find, Duel Masters content in 2022. It's definitely a difficult task, but it can be done as we see through your channel, man. So props to you.
Yeah, most definitely. So even with eBay side, something I would say to someone who's looking to buy, something I found the most successful is even if you see an item that's already been bought, I always take the extra time to message them because sometimes it can give me leads or it can even give me insight of, hey, where did you get this? Or do you have a source? And, especially in this kind of crazy world, it's really who makes a big difference of who can help you acquire some of these items. So I would recommend to people, just try to connect yourself to some of those resources to help. Maybe you can get a really nice item. So that's what I do to try to get what I'm looking for through Duel Masters.
Absolutely, man. So you go the extra mile and, send that message, which probably 99% of the listeners don't do. They just see an ended auction and, kick themselves that they missed it. But, you go that extra mile. So props to you, man. Well done.
Thank you.
So, what was the meaning behind you choosing to name your channel Diabolical Drew? Because I'm sure a lot of our viewers are interested in that.
So this one's kind of funny. So as you can see, the picture is, as many of you may know, it's not a Duel Master. It's not a Duel Master.
Surprisingly not.
So it stems from one of my first card game I've always enjoyed, and game itself is Pokemon, which of course it's incredibly big game. So I think most people know what Pokemon is at this point.
Yeah, good
And
answer.
yeah, so that's a picture of Shiny Gallade, which is a Pokemon from the Generation 4. So I when I was trying to figure out when I started my YouTube channel, if you go back, my first video was about MJ packs, which I
Hmm.
looked at. I When I first started the channel, it was looking at showing off products that they're hard to find and things that are unique that it's difficult to obtain. And
Absolutely.
with looking at when I was trying to figure out a name for the channel, I've always in speaking, I always love using alliteration. So using two words that have the same first letter. And I wanted to have my name involved in the channel, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So, having Drew, and I looked at the picture and I was like, what can I use with Gallade? And I was like, well, it looks a little menacing. So I was like, we're gonna go Diabolical. So Diabolical Drew was kind of from my love of the use of alliteration plus kind of how Gallade looks, and that's how I came up with Diabolical Drew.
Very creative, man. I like it.
Thank you.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your tournament video series with Tam? Because I honestly feel like it's a very underrated video series on your channel. And if you guys haven't checked it out, definitely do so. But yeah, could you fill us in a little bit on that one?
Can do. So when all that was filmed, that's all a culmination of a trip Tam and I were planning for quite a while. So as some of you may know who have watched my channel, the Tam is from Australia, where you're based out of, and I'm
Yep.
over here in the US. So it's you're basically going halfway around the world.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, we had to plan this for over about a year. So we got a good 2 week stretch where we were finally in the same place. And what's kind of crazy is before that, Tam and I had never actually seen each other in person. Going back to my selling times, I met him over selling on eBay. And we just hit it off, came great friends. We would do Skype duels. And so we had this big tournament planned. We put a lot of time into kind of fostering it and setting up a bracket. And the funniest thing is the intel I loved about this series is that it all took place over 14 hours and 2 days.
yeah, yeah, epic.
So yeah, what's kind of insane is we actually, with his time over here in the U.S., we we did everything but Duel Masters until like the last 2 3 days, and honestly, it was just exciting to finally meet each other in person. So the games were kind of, I wouldn't say rushed, but we definitely we had a little bit of fire under ourselves to put out a good product and stick to our original goal, and it was a lot of fun. So there were some things that in the tournament happened that we didn't expect. Like, for example, in the final four, two of my decks got through and he got to use one of my decks in the final four. And man, we really hit it off. It was a ton of fun for the games, and it gave us a lot of ideas for future series too, which it's part of the fun of Duel Masters. You have so many options and so much you can do and ways you can make creative decks.
Absolutely, man. So there's two things in there that I find really interesting. The first is that, Duel Masters gives you that worldwide connection to, potentially make friends in another country, but not only friends, but friends that can last a lifetime due to the shared bond that you guys have for the passion of the game. That's really, really cool. The second thing is that you find Australians to be good people. And, I happen to be Australian, so hopefully we're mates for life.
Yeah, I would say then you can fit the mold. And yeah, it's Australians are, I'd say, very fun people. And from my time getting to know Tamo these years, it's really enjoyable to get to know the culture. That's part of why I love this game so much, and it's connected me with so much of the world. And
Absolutely, man.
getting to know people of different backgrounds, you get to learn different kind of different words are used. Sometimes the translations can be a little weird, but the fact that we all bond over a card game is just incredible to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's, Aussie slang that's pretty different to American slang and, words that we use daily that would probably, go over your head. But it's interesting when my wife and I went to the USA, we noticed, how much Americans actually love Australians. And It was, just that welcoming embrace, which we found really cool. But we cannot wait to, welcome you with open arms, man, when you decide to come to Australia. It'll be a lot of fun.
I look forward to it greatly.
So can you tell us a little bit about your card selling background?
All right. So as mentioned earlier, I kind of got into Duel Masters, I'd say when I was probably about 16, 17 years old. There was a good friend of mine I played for years. I'd come home from school and, we'd go to his kitchen table. He'd have decks ready. We'd have a couple card games going. So I kind of scaled back a little bit before college. But I had a bit of a rebirth in, I'd say, the end of my freshman year of college. There was, funny enough, a guy who I roomed with who we called Magic Mike. And, super nice guy, but he was really into Magic the Gathering. And for most of you who know Duel Masters, Magic the Gathering and Duel Masters is kind of a mini clone of Magic the Gathering. Just the fact that instead of using your 5 steps, you use every card's mana, which I love about it, versus using lands in Magic the Gathering.
Yep.
So we ended up playing, so I then started buying cards again. But then looking at my career, I kind of I did a little bit of selling here or there, but nothing to the grand scale, which took off later. So the big time where things really took off was the summer of 2016. There's someone who I affiliate myself quite a bit with. There's a guy out in Idaho who he and I both sell this card game a decent amount. And he, just how as I mentioned earlier about talking about contacts, he messages me and say, hey, there's this product from this guy in Wisconsin that has a really good product. And it ended up being the MJ holding packs. So if you go to my early videos on my channel, and I apologize now because they're very shaky.
Still good content nonetheless.
Yeah. So, I mean, there were some pretty amazing pulls, but those MJ packs, so the MJ Holding Company packs, which were definitely the biggest find of my entire selling career. I was able to get those at a very good price. And, I would say from the years of 2016 to 2019, 2020, I just, for about a year after buying these cards, I just kind of stockpiled them. I would buy probably about 50 packages at a time. And, I knew the product was so good that, I just kept holding on to it, but the price was so good, I was able to amass complete sets. I was able to get really hard to get rares, like, your Terror Pits, your Natural Snares, your Rikubu Screwdriver, Bazakaziel Dragon. And, getting these packs at such a good price allowed me to sell things at a very good price. So if you were on the eBay market in 2017, 2018, in that range, I was selling DM4, DM5, DM6 complete sets. And, for these days, people would laugh at these prices and they would buy them pretty quick, but $100 for a set of DM4, DM5 complete set, one of each card. And, I'm kind of blessed because the game has changed so much in the last few years, which, we'll probably chat with sometime on this podcast, that everything's just getting way too pricey, unfortunately. It's hard to afford the game, which is rough for the current competitive player. But so with getting these MJ packs at such a nice price, I was able to sell cards at a very nice price as well. And, I was never looking to make a ton of money off it, but being able to sell cards to people all around the world. I think I probably hit all 6 continents except Antarctica. I sold cards all over the place. Collectively, I've probably sold over 100,000 Duel Master cards.
Are you sure there wasn't just one in Antarctica?
One what? I'm sorry.
One person in Antarctica buying cards, not just one.
Hey man, I wish there was. That would really seal the deal.
No, but in all honesty, man, you're someone who prides yourself on offering a fair and honest price. And as someone who has bought from you, I can verify that 100%. In my dealings with you, you've been nothing but gracious and fantastic. So it's props to you, man. And I believe that you're widely respected within the DM community. So well done, man.
Much appreciated. It's part of my internal feelings about the game is that, I dislike when a card game goes from a competitive, like just a regular man's game to a rich man's game.
Yeah.
So, I love that by getting this product at a good price, I was able to keep the prices down for years, which definitely I feel like helped so many more people get into it, which I couldn't be happier for. That's the goal of a card game, for people to get it, enjoy it, and have fun with it.
Absolutely, man. Couldn't agree more. So, what would you say your favorite card is in the TCG?
So the cool thing is, this one I don't have to think too hard. It's one of my favorites. A good friend of mine, who is the guy who I went home when I was younger, and we would sit at his table and play various games. He ended up passing away kind of at an early age, but a card that I always thought about and I associated with him is Miraculous Rebirth from DM11.
Nice.
And yeah, for those of you who don't know, against the card, that it's like a Stronghold tornado flame, but then after you destroy a creature 5,000 or less, you get to summon a creature of that mana, and the artwork is just incredible. Something I love about Duel Masters in general, but that card, it's like making something anew from something dead, and it's just, the artwork is just really captivating for Miraculous Rebirth.
Completely agree, man. And that might be why you featured a deck that was centered around that card in your tournament against Tam.
Most definitely.
But I have to agree with you. The artwork is phenomenal. And that is one of the cards that is definitely harder to find in English and at a reasonable price. So, yeah, can
So
see
also
what you
agree,
mean.
unfortunately.
Yeah. What would you say your favorite civilization is to duel with?
So I would say the earliest decks I made, I actually really enjoy the tri-civ combination. So I've always enjoyed Fire, Water, Nature.
Yep.
From my many duels with Tam, when we do Skype duels, I actually try to find more creative concepts versus going for the always winning decks. So he and I actually try to deal with light as little as possible, because light,
Yeah.
I feel like, is in our experience just too broken in the English
Totally.
meta.
Agree.
So I would say Fire, Water, Nature, just mixes of cards of those natures.
Yeah, that's fair, man. That's fair. What's your local Duel Master scene like in the USA, and do you have anyone to duel with?
So unfortunately, I do not. I've been able to have, some of my friends have gotten into it over the years, but as I've kind of moved around, I haven't been able to really keep a consistent group of people to play with. Now, in saying that, as I mentioned with connecting and talking with people, I'm in a good part of the United States where there's players around me. So one of the Wizards of the Coast ranked players, Tom Rogers, is actually not too far from me. And
Oh, wow.
Earth Power, his crew, is probably about 6 to 8 hours from me.
Yeah, wow.
So there's actually a good amount of competitive Duel Master players, not super far from me, but far enough that it's challenging to kind of mix schedules and try to meet up with people. And while I did connect with both of those crews, I really haven't been able to take it a step further, just because of scheduling conflicts and honestly just trying to find the time. I haven't been able to get that kind of freedom around the clock. So I need to just commit myself to at some point and try to meet up, because when you do that and meet up with these people who have done incredible things in the Duel Masters community, it's kind of a thrill, not just to duel, but to talk life and get their perspective on the game.
Absolutely, man. It seems like, an opportunity that many of our viewers would, covet almost, the chance to talk, let alone duel with, Tom Rogers and Earth Power and the like. I mean, they are, the people who essentially made the game. They're consistently competitive and, inspired a lot of people to try and create decks that could be remembered as a legacy. So, yeah, if you could tee up a time with those guys, it would be definitely worth your while, and it would be some pretty awesome content too.
I think so too. So yeah, it's just getting schedules together, but the fact that they're not too far from me, I'm hoping someday I can make that work. So, we'll stay tuned, and it would be a fun experience for hopefully them, but definitely for me.
Absolutely, man. Be really, really cool. So, what is it that keeps you interested and engaged in a card game that died in 2006?
Yeah, so as mentioned, I think I touched up on this a little bit previously. Just the people who I get to spend the game with. Getting to know some of the fellow YouTubers out there, messaging people on the DM Reborn page, and seeing other people's points of view, and getting to kind of see why some people are into the game. There's one particular guy on the DM Reborn that he's trying to collect all the puzzle cards, which is so unique to me because that's something that I haven't seen really anyone else do. So, seeing the different ways that people enjoy the game and things I can kind of learn about them and their culture and get to learn about the world. Duel Masters is a small way I get to see the bigger picture of the world, which is just, I've always found very enjoyable.
Yeah, completely agree, man. And it's a thing of beauty when you see, the impact that Duel Masters has had on so many people across the world, man. The fact that it's not just USA and Australia, there's, a lot of European countries that still value and cherish this game and make content for it. And to touch on your puzzle card friend there, I did notice there was someone in the Finnish community who actually has all the puzzle cards from DM1 to DM9. I think it's Marquito. Apologies if I pronounce that wrong, but yeah, shout out to you, man. It's
Wow, that's a huge accomplishment. Wow.
definitely a huge accomplishment, and something that not many people will be able to accomplish in their collecting journey. That's for sure.
Yeah, and just something to add on there. Just for any Duel Master listener who doesn't know this little wrinkle about the puzzle cards, if you look at the back, depending on the set you are, set that you're collecting, there can be up to, I want to say, 8 or 9 variants of each puzzle card. So the magnitude of doing that is absolutely stunning, really incredible.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah, definitely.
What is it about Duel Masters that inspires you to create videos for your channel consistently?
I would say the biggest driving point, which I would say probably maybe that's kind of shows how I got my start, is to show people a different products you can find. So,
Mm.
with the MJ packs, I part of me when I started my channel for YouTube was showing, okay, I know there's the DM wiki out there, but just to show people live these various products and what you're able to get. So even though you see a booster box set on the DM wiki, seeing a booster box opened can show you various results as well. Sometimes you can see really good pools. Sometimes you can see weird oddities and little things I create my channel and get excited about. So when I opened like my DM11 box and I had a pack that had 2 rares, like those are the kind of things that you don't get from looking at a DM wiki, that you get to see the unique part of the kind of packaging process and how some of the items had weird quirks to them that you wouldn't know unless you opened them. So I would say helping to show people what the products actually look like in person and some kind of the unique mistakes you can find with opening products.
Absolutely, man. And we get to live, so many of our Duel Masters dreams through you. I mean, you've found some incredible product over the years, and I mean, just speaking for myself personally, it's been, really incredible to see what kinds of stuff you've been able to get your hands on. And I'm appreciative of the content too, because, you've opened 11 of the 12 DM booster boxes, which is just incredible. And you're just chasing that last lucrative DM12 box. And I hope you get it, man, because, you deserve it. Your channel's phenomenal. And I'm sure there's a wide array of viewers that would love to see you open that box, and hopefully you'd pull a Pegasus or two. My favorite
Oh, that
card.
would be that would be fantastic. Yeah, and that would be, oh man, it makes me happy just hearing that. I never thought I would actually get this far with the booster box series because I knew there was like 3 or 4 boxes that would be very hard to chase. And
Mm,
whether it was the right people coming my way or getting a deal, I'm very fortunate to have 11 to 12, and I hope I do pull more Pegasus when I get a DM12 box, because again, another card that the artwork is great, and just a really cool mechanic on the card too.
That's something that makes my mouth water, I'm not gonna lie. But nah, dude, I mean, honestly, I hope you get it, and I'm sure it's probably not that far away. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just incredible what you're doing, and the fact that you even got your hands on a DM10 box is incredible, because as we saw a couple of weeks ago, a DM10 box went for over 4,000 USD, which prices you and myself out of the market quite comfortably.
Yeah, it's part of the struggle with getting sealed product right now. And it's funny, I've had a couple people message me, be like, why don't you have as much product as you used to? And the truth is, I can't spend an arm and a leg on this stuff. If I need to be able to make a little bit of money, I'm not looking to become a rich man from this game, but I can't sell things and lose out. So, buying products has gotten especially hard in the last few years, but it's still that thrill of the chase and, trying to find good products out there.
Absolutely, man. What would you say is the best deck that you've ever built in terms of strength?
So this is a great question, because I feel like some of the other people who've been on the podcast, as well as other Duel Master players, I feel like I've truly never enveloped the competitive scene. I feel like I've more like made creative decks, and I don't think I've ever made a deck that I've gone against some of the best decks out there, just because I feel like it's not really the situations I put myself in. So, for my tournament, I would say my Miraculous Rebirth, since it got to the finals, and even that deck, I did fine tune quite a bit. I did play on, I forget, I think it was TCG Player, but I did some online games with the Miraculous Rebirth deck. And that's one of my few decks that, with running it the way it's meant to run, I was decking out. So it's one of the more unique decks that I actually run, I think 48 cards. And I've trialed it multiple times. And as you may have seen with the tournament, if you've watched that video, it flies between card draw, between searching creatures. So whether it's the best competitive deck or not, I would say it's still probably maybe my best deck competitively, just because of how strong it is maybe why Starnoid, because the card is just really strong. And it runs off so many shield triggers, which makes your opponent's life very challenging. So I guess we'll stick to Miraculous Rebirth, but I'd probably, if I was more the competitive scene, maybe why Starnoid would fill that spot.
Yeah, nice, man. I mean, with all those shield triggers, it kind of makes your opponent hesitant to know when is the right time to attack. So kind of keeps you on edge, and you don't want to go too early, but you also don't want to go too late when the game's too far gone. So can completely understand that, man.
Yeah, shield triggers really can change the outcome of a game. So, your opponent hitting an early shield trigger can kind of stifle you and set you back. So when a deck runs 16, 20 triggers that are really all useful, I mean, that deck, you have Cologne, you have Holiol, you have Surfers. There's just so many options that are pretty devastating for your opponent.
Well, I mean, how many of us listening right now have gone for that last shield and it's been a Surfer and cost you the game? I can definitely think of a few times.
Yeah, definitely.
But what would you say your favorite deck is that you've created? Not in terms of strength, just in terms of, creativity and something that you've really enjoyed to construct.
So this one may be kind of a fan favorite. I know some Duel Master players have spoke about how much they enjoy this card, but Hydro Hurricane, I would say, is actually one of my favorite decks.
Nice.
It gives so much variability between, we're going to go the light path, you're going to go the dark path, or you're going to do a hybrid of both. But the best thing is, with that style of deck, there's so many decent low-cost mana cards for both light and darkness. So whichever path you choose, there's plenty of options. So I would say that's probably my favorite card, and not favorite card like Miraculous Rebirth, but definitely favorite deck card, where the amount of things you can do with Hydro Hurricane is it's so fun, and it keeps your opponent on edge.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a very devastating card to deal with. Thank you, Lewis. I know you'll be listening. He's got a Hydro Hurricane deck, which I'm sure you'll come up against when you make your way down here. But Yeah, it's devastating, man. You're on the clock. You don't know, you can't ever be comfortable because you just don't know when it's coming, and then you're back to square one when it hits the battle zone. So it's one of those things that just definitely keeps you on edge, man.
Most definitely.
Did you ever get into the Duel Masters dubbed anime by any chance?
So over here in the US, and part of I guess why Wizard of the Coast eventually didn't continue on with Duel Masters, that, and I would say for me as a, because again, Duel Masters coming out between like 2004, 2003. The biggest thing I say, animes like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon, I think were just a little stronger. So I really never got into the show. I just didn't find it as I've seen a couple episodes, but even just looking at from the mechanics of breaking shields and the creatures, you look at some of the decks on there, you as a competitive player or someone who's played competitive decks, you're like, I could wipe the floor some of these players.
Completely agree, man.
Yeah, so I would
Great
say
answer.
I really didn't get too much into the anime just because I felt, like probably many people, which may be a reason why the game didn't do so well in the U.S. is that there was just other animes that were just a little more enjoyable to watch. But now going back, I'm like, man, I wish I showed more support. I would love to keep Duel Masters going strong in the U.S.
Yeah. Well, the cheesy one-liners would have been enough to put you off anyway, man.
Yeah, definitely a funny part of the Duel Master dub.
I'm sure the writers of that anime would have just been absolutely kicking themselves in the recording studio, the kinds of stuff that were just spitting out, the characters were spitting out. Insane.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one episode, Shobu was saying, "Oh, that's right, I had to buy a new tub of hair gel," like completely unrelated to the show. Quirky though.
Yeah,
Now,
just a bit.
yeah, what would you say your coolest Duel Masters related item is that you own that's not card related?
So I'd say this is probably the most disappointing of all because I actually, it's funny. I looked through my collection. I was like, I really don't have any, which is sad because I probably should with how many items I've seen.
Yeah.
But I would say just to kind of touch back on some of the items I have seen online, one of the most unique items I've seen. So I, I spoke to some people, some things I've seen, like, plaques from the Tournament of the Five Civs. But the
Mm,
most exciting thing I think I've seen, which I had wanted to buy, but I missed online, is I actually found artist proofs, like just kind of the sheet with drawings on it of Headlong Giant. And it was from
wow.
various angles. It was really unique. I'd never seen anything like it. I saw it on eBay probably about last year.
Wow.
And I tell you, if it was for sale and it wasn't already sold, I would have definitely tried purchasing it just because I had never seen something that unique. I have over the years, I've been able to acquire cards that were signed by the artist of the card, but never actually find an artist proof. So that was really unique item. So unfortunately, I don't own any of those, but it's probably one of the coolest items I've seen over the years in my buying selling.
Do you remember what it was going for by any chance?
I actually don't think it was too expensive. I think it was only around
Wow.
30 to 40 bucks. So it wasn't a super pricey item, but it was
Wow.
just a very unique item and one that I was sad to miss the opportunity.
Absolute steal. That's one that you'd want to frame for sure.
Oh, definitely.
So, what are your hobbies outside of Duel Masters, Drew?
So the biggest thing, I mean, the biggest hobby, I guess hobby versus like lifestyle is that, I again work in a hospital, so that keeps me pretty busy, especially in a pandemic. But I actually have a new family, so my new family sounds like I just left one and came to one. But
Don't give
no,
away your
so
secret.
I just we had our firstborn a couple months ago, back in October. So
Congratulations, man.
thank you very much. A new child's been really a blessing. It's been a fantastic part of my life. But I would say hobbies outside of the work and the family. I actually love games in general. So I'm big into, as we know with Duel Master, I'm big into card games, but I also play card games like Pokemon. I've done a little Magic the Gathering. I love board games. One of my favorite games, Betrayal at House on the Hill, I think is what's called. It's a actually game by Wizards of the Coast.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
yeah, there's various board games I'm really into. So I'm kind of a game connoisseur. I I love some of the various console games. I like some of the classics. I still have like an N64, which I keep in good shape. So I play a lot of games in general. I'm big into racket sports, so I've gotten into pickleball lately. With if you guys don't know that, you can look that up. It's like a mini version of tennis. So
Yeah, nice.
I kind of play that. I'm big into I like 5Ks, so I do some jogging. I actually really enjoy going out and singing karaoke. So, as you
Nice.
guys may have picked up from my time talking on here about people of the world, people watching is one of my favorite things to do. So, being it in different sports as well as doing karaoke. Sometimes people do crazy things when you're doing sports with them, or you're saying karaoke. So just to kind of be enveloped in that culture and just to see how people react in situations is something I greatly enjoy.
Well, when you hit up Australia, we'll be sure to, hit up a karaoke bar, man. Sounds fun.
That would be fantastic. I would love that.
Get everyone out of their comfort zone and have a good night.
Absolutely. I think that's part of the joy of it too, because some people
Absolutely.
can be very keep everything internally, and then you go out to karaoke. Sometimes you can get the whole new look of someone. So that's part of what I love about going out and doing new things, because you can kind of let people expand themselves and become something that they may not see themselves very often. So it allows people
Absolutely.
to really enjoy the experience.
Absolutely, man. Completely agree. Have you heard about the international tournament that is going to be held in Finland by the Duel Masters Finland crew next year if COVID does settle down? And would you potentially attend?
So I've actually been looking at this. One of the people for the Duel Masters Reborn Discord, ELTP, and he's another one. He's in Duel Masters a lot of big players and people who are pretty incredible to the community, and he does a lot of good work. And I've been looking at going to the Finland tournament since, oh my goodness, back in 2020 before the COVID pandemic really first hit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I sadly think that I think my window may have closed for getting there, just because I have to kind of prioritize trips. And as we've been talking about, especially between you guys there and my friend Tam in Australia, I think Australia is kind of my next. If I can get somewhere, I think that's kind of where I'm aiming to get to.
Oh, we'd love to host you, man. And that actually takes my next question. If you'd be interested in attending any of our dual days in Australia. So we'd love to host you, man. And I'm sure we'd get plenty of amazing content as well for our channels, respectively.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm looking at the kind of grand scheme of things. It's tough to tell when I'll be able to get there, but it's on my immediate radar. If I can make it work, I'm going to try my best, because it's again, Australia is kind of like in a slight version, another version of the United States. Like you just get a
That's what
lot of
everyone says. Yeah,
so I
it's
would
true.
love to see the scene out there. So.
Oh, you wouldn't be disappointed, man. There's so many, American influences in our culture here in Australia, and if you turn on your TV at any given time, you're pretty much guaranteed to see American TV shows. And I think, a lot of Australians probably idolize Americans, to be truthful.
It's kind of cool to have a neat relationship with another country. It's like it's not even like a silent relationship. It's like a mutual bonding
Yeah, 100%.
with another group.
100%, man. So we'll just touch on Yummy Michael slash Sanctuary's questions. He was wanting to know what's the most interesting or rarest Duel Masters item that you own.
So funny enough, as I was starting the whole trip of the MJ holding packs, when I was doing that in 2016, when I was cracking those open all the time, I was able to actually pull a filler card. which I did touch up on a video of mine on my channel. So for those of you who don't know what a filler card is, so since Duel Masters was made by Wizards of the Coast, who also did Magic the Gathering, on a print line, on like when they print sheets of cards, they would have a blank card to kind of use as kind of a not a prototype. I can't think of the word, but sometimes those cards, yeah, I can't get it right now. So I thought of this particular card, it has nothing on the front, it's blank, and then the back has the Duel Masters logo. And I was actually able to pull one from one of my MJ holding packs.
Nice,
so
man.
So those cards are really unique, and doing a little more research on them, it's unknown exactly how many are out there for Duel Masters. I'd say probably, from when I was talking with my friends in Norway about this, I think we've determined there's probably about roughly 20 we've seen in the Duel Masters community. So there's not too many. And again, it's one of those things that was never meant to go out to the general public. So I've been able to acquire 2 in my life. And I sold one and I have the other one. But even if you look at Earth Power's channel, they had one, and I think one of them actually signed it. So it was kind of a unique thing to do, but I think I'd be too nervous to sign it or do anything with it, just because of the just how rare that is.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's probably something you'd want to get in a top loader and just tuck away for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, back when I was kind of in the big time buying and selling, I do a little bit now still, but not as much I used to. I also, back in 2016, Neve the Leveler was basically nowhere to be found. It was pretty impossible to locate, especially since the book it came in was from, I think, 2006. So another goal of mine.
Dragonfire.
Yes, the Dragonfire book. So another goal of mine back then was to try and find Neve the Leveler. And I think I was able to find about 4 copies over the years.
Wow.
Out about 20, 30 books. So if you ever try to hunt for Neve the Leveler, it's very challenging. But if you get one, of course, it's really incredible. But finding it is very challenging. So
yeah. I must admit, I've been looking for probably a year on and off, and haven't had any luck so far. But I'm sure it would be rewarding if you actually managed to find one, let alone 4. Very nice work, man.
Yeah. So there's a lot of unique promos out there. I haven't been able to get my hands on 3-Faced Ashura or the in the Scream Slicer promo. I think there's only 1 or 2 in the world. I know one guy who has it, and that may be it. So it's tough to say with promos, because sometimes there's a lot out there, and then there's going to be the occasion where you just can't find any. So it's tough to say, are many of them tucked away somewhere, or did they just not come out with them? Like, are they not very they're very scarce throughout the world. So a lot of these things, that's kind of the joy of Duel Masters, because sometimes these things kind of just pop up and you find incredible things, and sometimes you're looking for years and years and it's almost impossible to find.
Yeah, it's definitely trending that way lately, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Michael's second question was, since you opened a DMEX 17 box once, have you looked into much later JPN stuff to see what cards are doing?
So I would say the best answer is no. My main focus is on the English, but something I admire about the OCG is the artwork. Again, we talk about the amazing Duel Masters artwork, and the Japanese artworks are just, they're really good.
Phenomenal.
Even yes, most definitely phenomenal. So you see them doing reprints of, I think Ball Medias has at least 4 to 5 reprints. There's quite a few for him, and just seeing the artworks on them is really nice. And so being able to, I would say when I'm opening those Japanese ones, I feel like I don't do those openings justice, but to to show the TCG community that there's this much bigger entity, which, if you want to get into Duel Masters, if you can get through the translations and you want to enjoy an active game, then you can go to the Japanese side, which is, again, there's a reason it's the number 1 card game in Japan. It's a lot of fun. They've added so many mechanics that I would say we, the TCG players, are quite jealous of. That
Absolutely.
to see the game evolve like it has, it makes you think what could have been as a English player. But if for those who really enjoy it, they do the translations, and everything on that DM wiki, it gives you the translations, which if you want to get into it, you can. Something I'm looking at doing. There's actually a guy, I think he's based out of Romania, that he actually makes proxy cards for for the cards. So I'm thinking of maybe doing some of those for maybe DM13, DM14, kind of dipping my toe into future sets.
I think that's Vlad. If you're listening, shout out to Vlad.
Yep. So again, something I love about the Duel Masters community, there's so many people who have various kind of accolades and people who have done some incredible things. So I think if anything, this podcast should show off is just, the community for Duel Masters is so strong, and there are so many people who have really unique things they bring to the table, which is part of why I love this game so much.
Absolutely. And if you can understand Japanese, it's definitely worth getting into the OCG. Like Drew said, there's a reason it's the number 1 card game in Japan, and still going strong consistently month after month. I know there is a little bit of rotation, but consistently Duel Masters is the number 1 game. But yeah, I mean, what's on the horizon for yourself with 2022 in full swing, and what can we expect from your content and channel looking forward?
So as you mentioned earlier, one of my biggest goals, if I can find someone out there who's willing to sell me a box or trade me a box, I'm hoping I can find that elusive 12th box. So from opening, that's the big thing. But I'm really hoping to start delving into some deck profiles. So I would definitely start the tournament, the Y Starnoid deck, maybe the Cryptic Totem, Hydra Hurricane, Miraculous Rebirth, some of those big time decks that were in the tournament. At this point where I am kind of life-wise, I'm probably only looking at maybe doing 10 to 15 videos a year. So I'm really lucky as a Duel Master person to have, channels out there like yours, the Gauntlet, German Duel Masters, various ways that people can still enjoy Duel Masters content, because I don't put out the most videos by any means, but I always try to give my best content whenever I do videos. So I'm glad we have a nice culmination of people who do the game, so that the viewers always have somewhere to turn for Duel Master videos.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And definitely a shout out to the Gauntlet. I mean, they consistently put out, I think, a minimum of 3 videos per week to, I guess, whet our palates and, give us that taste for Duel Masters continually, which is fantastic. Absolutely. And what's interesting... Oh, sorry, you go, man.
No, I was going to throw out about his, he does a lot of Duel Master plays. So, that's a neat way to kind of get with the recent Duel Masters. So.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing with the Gauntlet is that they bulk record. So for one day, every few weeks, they'll punch out 4 or 5 videos in one sitting, and then they'll just gradually release them in due course, which means that they don't have a period where there's no videos being uploaded. And it's something that I wish we could do here in Australia too, and have that consistent upload. But, varying, schedules and timings and that kind of thing, it's just not possible all the time. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of good content out, regularly if you go looking for it. But one thing I would say is, now that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duels has come out, if you go on YouTube and actually try and search Duel Masters content, all you get is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duels content, which is frustrating.
That's really challenging. Oh goodness, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, if you go on YouTube right now, well, probably not right now because we're on a podcast, but after that, you'll see what I mean, man. It's quite difficult to actually find new Duel Masters content, which is a bit of a pain.
Definitely have to. I'm trying to think how we get over that. Again, maybe retooling the search, but like you said, if Master Duel, it's so close to Duel Master that it's just going to populate half the time. So, oh man, that's a rough conundrum.
Yeah, it really is, man. And there's got to be some kind of way we can get around it, but at this point it seems like there's not much we can do. Actually, Drew, the last question that we wanted to ask you is, what are your thoughts on Wizards of the Coast discontinuing Duel Masters due to the popularity that it was getting over Magic the Gathering, which was their baby?
Oh, it's challenging to hear that, especially with how much we love Duel Masters. But you look at
Absolutely.
Magic, it's still going today. But
Yeah.
you kind of you credit a brand for wanting to make sure they have one, because the thing is, you want to always have something successful to keep people coming back. But it's kind of killer to know that Duel Masters, and it was a tough time in the DM 10, 11, 12 time, especially because Bombazar just took over. Bombazar and Rush just really kind of just owned the competitive scene. But it's kind of heartbreaking to know that if they could have potentially sustained 2 games.
I believe so too, man.
Yeah, I think it could have definitely been done. But the sad thing is, all of us look back now and just think of what could have been. And they tried their hand at bringing it back. They did Kaijudo later, but Kaijudo, I guess, I remember Earth Power did videos on. I guess it's a little more balanced, but it's just, it didn't hit the same as Duel Masters, which is why it failed after 2-3 sets. It didn't go very long.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's a shame that Duel Masters had to be the sacrificial lamb for Magic to live on, but here we are in 2022, and there's no point crying over spilt milk, so to speak.
Yep. Just hope Wizards of the Coast is watching. It's like, hey guys, you can reconsider. Bring it back.
There's a market. There's a market for it. Come on, bring it back. Bring it back. We can hope.
That's about what we can do.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for your time, Drew. We appreciate everything that you're doing to help keep Duel Masters relevant. Keep up the great work with your content, and we'll definitely keep in touch, man.
All right, much appreciated. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
And thanks for joining us, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.